Hello and welcome to the Energy Resilience Lab. Our lab is dedicated to giving you the knowledge, skills, and the encouragement that you need to become energy independent and energy resilient. Today we're coming to you with some breaking news down in the southwest portion of America, where there's a large heat dome that has settled above Texas and New Mexico and a little bit into some other states. What this has done is it has raised temperatures in the whole region and held them high for the last several days, even up to a couple weeks in some regions. And that temperature is forcing all of the air conditioning systems in the area to stay on to keep the buildings cool. But what happens in that case is that it can stress the transmission lines and the power plants beyond what they can handle. So in a normal situation, when you have a utility supplying power to a region, there's a main power source, which could be coal-fired or nuclear or some other large power plant, and that power plant is providing the base load. So it's covering and supporting all the loads in the region. And then you'll have hydro, small hydro, turbines and other power plants, solar, wind. All of these generation facilities will add energy to the grid, reducing the base load, but you always have to have that major system powerful enough to cover essentially all the loads with some overhead. And so all the other power facilities, generation facilities in the area help that, but they can't sustain the load for a long duration. So here in Texas and some other regions, the temperature is so high that there is no downtime for the air conditioning. All of the air conditioning systems in the area are calling for air conditioning, and so what that means is they are at the peak load all the time. Usually when you have your air conditioning on at your home, it turns on and off to keep your house at a reasonable temperature. But when the temperatures get high, the system has to stay on continually to keep the temperature at what you're asking for. So that's what's causing the grid problem, is all of these homes needing their air conditioning on, and all the businesses. The other thing that's going on is when you run power plants at their peak capacity or close to it, they'll sometimes have problems and they'll have to shut down for a certain amount of time. And that's a problem because it can be the large base load generation plants that can have problems. And so if they have to go down for just a few minutes or a couple hours for a repair, then that can leave the whole grid without enough power to supply everyone. So that's where you'll have kind of larger blackouts, and you'll also have load shedding, where you'll shut off certain regions in the area to keep the base load below the limit that whole generation capability of that region has. So in California, they have some transmission line issues and some generation issues. So if there's not enough power to get to a certain region, or if that line is overheating, they will just turn off the power to that line for several hours. So they'll have a rolling blackout in the hottest part of the day to allow the lines to cool, or to allow the power plant to cover other regions that are load shedded. So this is a huge issue. It's really common. I mean, we've seen, not really common actually. It's not that common, but it does happen. And with the freezing temperatures down in Texas, the generation plants and transmission lines had a lot of issues. And now with the extreme heat, they're having more issues with all of these systems coming online. A couple things to think about that you may not know about is there are programs that you can get connected with if you want to have a smart thermostat that can be controlled remotely from the utility. So they can shed your air conditioning whenever the grid is needing to shed some load. So what that does is it allows them to turn yours off and allow other ones to run. And then when those ones turn off, they'll activate yours and allow yours to run. It usually does require that you will tolerate a higher temperature in your home. That seems to be a bigger trend, where they're mandating that more people don't have their air conditioning set as low. And as you can imagine, the colder you want it in your house, compared, like the relative temperature, the greater the difference between outdoor and indoor temperature, the more the air conditioning has to turn on. So if you set your thermostat a little higher, that will relieve some of the pressure on the grid to supply power. And so one program they have is smart thermostats, where the utility will control them, and they will shut down your power to your air conditioning, keeping everything else on in the home, but just the air conditioning, they'll turn it off for a certain amount of time to relieve that pressure on the system, and then they'll activate it again once the load has come down due to other people's homes not needing power for air conditioning for a short time. So that's one of the things that they do to try and mitigate that. I think there's a program in Colorado and Texas and California where you can get the thermostat for free or heavily discounted, but then they are able to control that to protect the grid. Another program that they have that I just learned about yesterday was Generac has their Ecobee system, a thermostat in your home that actually connects to the generator at your home, and it can optionally turn off the transfer switch and activate your generator when the grid needs some support. So it will just turn off the grid power and it will turn on your backup generator to cover your home. It sounded like the size of that group of people that have that system is not huge, so I think it was 6 megawatt power, which is probably less than 10% of a small town worth of energy was shedded through that process, but that does help. So the more people that can get off the grid and just cover themselves, the more stable the grid will be in general. And so in line with that topic, the battery energy storage systems we talk about on this show are perfect for that situation where you have a heat dome, so there's usually not a lot of clouds. Can be clouds that would block your solar, but you have the option and opportunity to capture the power from solar, store it on site, and then use it for your home 24/7. And that effectively takes you off grid like the program with the Generac generators, but it does it in a sustainable way because you're able to use your solar and charge your batteries and then cover all of your loads. And so the more people we can get to do that, the more stable the grid will be. And that empowers us as the people that have these systems to take control of our destiny and to not have to worry about what's going on with these extreme weather conditions, because our system can effectively cover everything we need, at least the basics, for a long period of time, especially when the sun's available. It can also just move the power, so if the peak load, usually the peak load is in the evenings, with the heat dome being hot all the time, there's less opportunity during the night, but when there is opportunity to charge during the night and then use your power in your home during the day, then that arbitrage can help the grid as well, because it's moving power. Usually with the utility, there's a bump in power in the morning with everyone cooking breakfast and things, and then there's another large bump that is the evening, and that's all of the air conditioning in everyone's home turning on, and then it's also the cooking load and everything when everyone's getting home and doing what they want to do. So cooking, cleaning, whatever they do in the evenings. And so if you could just move your energy usage from the peak demand time to the lower demand times, that can save you money on your power bill, and it also helps the utility to mitigate some of these problems. And so you can see the way that they price their power at the utility is to encourage us to take control of our power and to move it, which adjusts their base load and maximizes their efficiency over time. And so if we help ourselves, it also helps everyone else. So thank you guys for watching and listening, and stay safe out there. There was, I don't know if I said earlier, but there was 400,000 homes without power for several days during this heat dome. And so in that case, your home is getting to very high temperatures if it's exposed and it doesn't have a basement or something like that. And so that's a really bad condition. And there were a lot of people sleeping in the street because it was so hot in their homes. So they're in their street or in the backyard, just trying to find anywhere that's cool. Thank you guys for watching. And please like and subscribe to the video and share it with anyone that you believe is interested. I'm trying to get the word out so more people can understand how they can take control of their energy future and be able to support and help others along the way. Thank you guys. Have a great day. See ya.